to creaking, yeah, just started in the hay. With his long johns up, popping, creeping out to the bottom to the hay. Loved young lovers with their legs tied up in knots. Young lovers with their legs tied up in knots. With his long top gun, popping, creeping to blow the hay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, party people in the place to be. I'm Dave Valente. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. We're back. It's been a couple weeks. Sorry, on Memorial Day weekend, we had a spectacular failure of my camera. My camera just would not connect to anything, so couldn't get on
You
to
can just say
broadcast.
you were drunk.
I mean,
There's no
well, that too. I mean, that's a given.
All right.
Man, that's game shape right there.
You can say that you were human trafficking through Tennessee and detained by ICE.
Exactly. Yeah. Ice, baby.
Whatever is the reason.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy. How you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah. So it's been an interesting. A couple weeks. So we saw the departure of Elon Musk from the White House. Not last week, but the week before. Hey, Craig.
What's up, Craig? Hey, Kathy.
We see the. Hey, Janice. So we saw the weird, awkward press conference with Elon with the black eye, and he departs, and on the way out, he says some unkind.
Did Elon really have a press conference with the black eye?
He was in the White House. He was in the Oval Office as he was being sent off, and he had a little bit of a black eye. Like he said, his son X. Aloysiousness, whatever his name is, he said he told his son to hit him in the face, and he did. I don't know. I mean,
that sounds crazy.
Here's what I think happened.
All right,
because one of the things that came out as Elon is leaving the White House is that he's taking the wife of Stephen Miller, who will prominently feature in this episode, with him on the way out the door. So apparently child number 15 is going to come from Stephen Miller's wife as she follows Elon Musk out to California or Texas or wherever he's going to end up settling. But on the way out, Elon Musk has some rather unkind things to say about Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, about how they're spending too much money, about how they're not codifying any of the changes of Doge in the big, beautiful bill. They're doing, he's bad mouthing the president on the way out. He said it's either a big bill or a beautiful bill. It can't be both. I think it's one of the thing he said about it, which is true. I mean, it's a big bill. I mean, we're talking about possibly up to $5 trillion in overspending, probably a whole lot more in the way when we get down to it. Hey, Heidi, how you doing? And now, it was a kind of a slow burn. Elon did a interview with, I believe, CBS, where he talked about, the big, beautiful bill. And he also talked about the being attacked and being kind of the lightning rod for the administration. His dealerships being attacked. He didn't like being essentially the face of the administration and catching all the slings and arrows. Right. And as it rolls into this week, we see it just erupt. I mean, again, Musk continues to talk about the big, beautiful bill and saying that it's horrible. And Donald Trump takes umbrage to it and starts firing back at Elon Musk, saying, if we look at where we should be cutting some money, maybe we look at Elon Musk's projects, the money he's being paid by the federal government, his contracts and things like that, SpaceX, Tesla, get all kinds of pork barrel stuff, his XAI stuff, same thing. Starlink, yeah. Musk responds by saying, "You know what? All right, we'll just cancel the Dragon space probe, which is how we were supposed to go back to the moon. The Dragon, that's going to be canceled. Per Musk, that SpaceX will no longer be doing that.
Well, I think what we're going to find out is that he's also going to then sell that to another country.
That
So
would be
he'll put
interesting.
I don't know,
To China.
Mexico. I think he should put Canada on the moon.
There you go. There we go.
Canada or South
Or
Africa.
Or they could call it, make it Japan. They could call it Enter the Dragon.
There you go.
I like
Yes.
that.
Nice.
Although
You know what?
that would still
Bhutan
be
has a
China.
dragon. Bhutan has a dragon on its flag. I think Bhutan should get the dragon.
Okay.
A bad choice.
Point.
Or Wales. Wales actually has a dragon on their flag as well. Either one would work.
Right. And Wales works because, well, no, I take it back.
I mean, you slap a Welsh name on the side of it, it's going to go down the entire length of it. So
Well, and the I was trying to make a joke about whales and donors, but yeah,
crypto whales, the ones that the Ellen's still
exactly,
waiting on. Yeah,
exactly. I'm just gonna have to leave that joke for next week.
But yeah, I mean, and then it escalates from there, and it becomes even more delicious. And Musk starts saying, "Well, the reason why we haven't seen the Epstein list is because Donald Trump's on it," which I don't think really surprises anybody.
Was this news? I mean, everybody knew that.
Well, I mean, we haven't been on the air for quite a while, actually. So we sort of, I think that we should mention a little bit that the precursor of the taco statement, right? Some people have been saying taco stands for Trump always chickens out.
Yeah, taco
And
trades in response to tariffs.
A reporter mentions this in the White House briefing. What does the president think about people using the taco acronym?
Yeah.
And he was caught unaware.
And just lost it. Very mean, very nasty.
Very nasty. You're a nasty person.
Real Donald. Real
Exactly.
Donald Trump.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, probably the most authentic moment the American people have ever had with Donald Trump.
Sure.
Except for maybe when he said, if you're a celebrity, they can't stop you. Just grab them by the
that's probably his most authentic.
Yeah.
Maybe,
but in that space. So now he's sensitive, and then the Musk stuff starts really happening.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing too is that Musk, as much as people don't like him, he's not an idiot. Trump really.
I mean, he may be high as fucking draft nuts, but
sure. I mean, look, if you want to tell me that he's on the
ketamine,
ketamine, the
DMT.
intellectual super boost drugs that some people think work and most people say make you paranoid. Sure, okay, but fundamentally, he can do the math, right? He can do the math on the big beautiful bill, quote unquote. Yeah. And also, Big Beautiful Bill is also Trump's name for his last male lover.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, I think it's not so much that I mean, I do think that he has a problem with the idea that the Big Beautiful Bill is going to just blow up the budget. I mean, there's no question about. I mean, all the stuff they're doing right now is going to negatively impact the economy.
Well, negatively impact the economy and pay back patrons, right?
Yeah.
It is a bill filled with pork, which is, the worst part of it, right? I mean, if somehow there was this larger agenda of, actually make America great again or something like that, even if it were completely stupid, I would say, okay. On the other hand, this it's just foolish and reckless, and the increases in spending, as well as the decrease in taxes, There was a great moment on Meet the Press where they asked the budget representative, I see that you are rolling back a 10% tax on tanning machines, which of course is a little bit of a joke because Trump probably is using those. Um, and they said, why is that happening? And they said, this was an unfair tax that Joe Biden put in place. Said, well, actually, this tax was enacted 15 years ago. And they're like, well, it's still an unfair tax. We're going to roll it back. That's it.
Oh, I can give them lots of ideas of unfair taxes to roll back.
Oh,
Just give me a
sure.
chance.
But this administration is not here to help people. Like,
No,
and as much
not
as
at all.
they couch themselves in this populist mantra of making America great again,
Right.
there's nothing that they're doing that is going to markedly improve the life of the average American
Nope,
citizen.
they don't care.
Especially when everything shakes out. When immigration, when these raids that they're doing in LA and all over the country start forcing people back across the border, the job markets are going to collapse because the people that were doing the foundational jobs of this country are gone. And the
Right.
people aren't really clamoring to either do construction trades or especially the more menial tasks within construction trades. They're not clamoring to do to pick any vegetable or anything like that.
Right. No, I mean,
Well,
we
the
are,
disruption to the economy just on that alone is going to be bad. But then you couple it with this weird stuff that he keeps doing with the tariffs, and Taco is reference to Trump always checking out when it comes to tariffs, especially. Now, I do think that one of the byproducts of what Taco becoming a very much derogatory term towards Donald Trump. This next time that he puts tariffs in, I think he's going to carry them past the ideological finish line. He's going
yeah,
to make them hurt worse just to show I'm a strong man. Because
exactly.
at his
That's,
core, Donald Trump is a fundamentally weak human being.
Oh my
yeah,
heavens,
He
yes.
he is a bully, and the one thing about bullies is that they are fundamentally weak human beings. They are fundamentally scared to their core. They're scared. That's why they have such a bravado to push
and they're
people away, push
very
the
afraid
threat.
to appear weak. And
Yes,
so just the fact that people are saying taco all the time now is, it's going to be a big deal. And it's not going to be just in the United States. People are starting to say it around the world. It's
yes,
showing up in international broadcasts. And in that light, I think you're right that Trump is going to respond. In many ways, you can make the argument that maybe that's what's happening in California right now with the
yeah. I
deployment of the
mean,
National
this is
Guard.
all related. Yeah,
Yeah, is sort of Trump
Yes.
being so afraid of looking weak that he's trying to look strong.
it's
Well,
overcompensation.
Yeah,
yes. Isn't that what bullies do? Isn't that what
absolutely.
Yeah,
insecure, weak people do? They try to overcompensate to puff themselves up.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens.
And
And
he's the biggest puffer fish ever.
yeah,
yeah.
he's the big fluffer fish. Um,
Yes, you're right. Dan,
Oh Lord.
10 points for Dan right there.
well, I have to say, I was sort of inspired by what Craig wrote up there. He said, all taxes are unfair for fuck's sake. But I
Craig
actually read that
knows.
as all taxes are unfairifs. So I like the idea of
Unfair.
sheriffs or unfairifs.
Yes, Craig
So
scores
Craig, thank you
twice.
for that. I'm going to give you co-writing credit on that
There
one.
you go. Nice.
We stand in this unbelievably strange place where we have a clearly weak person in office supported by people who fear real strength. And they've elected him because they're like, Trump isn't smarter than us. He isn't, He doesn't have any moral high ground over us. We're
Not
tired
at
of
all.
electing all these really good, smart people to office because they make us feel bad about ourselves.
Can you make that case though? I mean, compared to
Well,
Trump, yes. Compared to
yeah,
Trump,
yeah,
yes. But
it's you're right. It's all relative. I mean,
yeah,
certainly,
it is
certainly,
relative.
and I think part of what we have to talk about in this news cycle too is all the stuff that's coming out with Biden right now.
The
Uh,
auto pen stuff.
the I don't know about AutoPen, but certainly Karine, what's her name,
Oh
leaving,
yeah, her taking off from the
leaving the
taking off from the
Democratic
Democrat
Party
Party.
to
Yeah,
become an independent.
Well,
Trump's press
and they're talking
secretary.
about what, Joe Walsh too, jumping to Democrat.
Yep, yep, that was a big deal.
Mhm.
We talked about
Good
it
for
a little
balance.
bit. Yeah, it's that's sort of a strange thing to me. Like like there certainly was a point in time
what's
at
up,
which I
Carol?
thought, "Hey, Carol, how's it going?" Where I thought, well, and it sort of came up that in a one-party state, I could run as a Democrat, and in the ways that I was different, it wouldn't be that big deal. Massachusetts has elected several sort of nonconformist Democrats, Deval Patrick being one. He won the governor's race.
Yeah,
Seth Moulton being another. People who were not favorites of the Democratic Party machine, but knew in order to get elected, they had to run as Democrats.
Mhm.
Um, but in that space, it wouldn't work out for me. I couldn't claim to be a Democrat because of the bad things that the party stands for, and the worst thing about it is that the party stands for the party.
But
sure.
you're talking about Joe Walsh's jump, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Now, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Dan. I have no respect for the Democrat Party. It's just it's taken the current Republican Trumpian Party to somehow make the Democrats look good. And
yeah,
they're not great. We all loathe the duopoly. We get it. And all of a sudden the Democrats are the good guys. Strategically, I could see what Joe Walsh is doing. You know, he
yeah,
said he said he never, ever, ever thought he would ever be a Democrat, but
right.
I get what he's doing, and if it means tipping the balance to knock things away from Trump, I kind of admire the guy for it.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I,
I met Joe Walsh. He was at the liberal
your party caucus in
yeah
Houston
no in
convention.
DC during the
Oh,
last Libertarian National Convention.
yep,
They had the summit there, the Project Liberal Summit,
yep,
um, and very engaging, very passionate. It was a good speech that he gave to the room and there wasn't a ton of us there. It was probably like 20 people packed into the room,
Mm.
but very passionate, very very frank in his discussion about what's going on in America. Um, and then, of course, this is before Donald Trump is reelected.
yeah.
And I get it. Right now we don't have a third option. I know that we're broadcasting on the Libertarian Party channels or quasi Libertarian Party channels, but the brand has been desecrated, and
Yeah.
they're really and even in our best years, it was hard to make breakthroughs. Um, in a binary system,
Well, and I get
I
that. If I
yeah,
thought the only way to defeat Donald Trump was to support Democrats, was to be a member of the Democratic Party, I would do that.
yes,
But I think that it's possible to support Democrats without being a member of the Democratic Party. And in fact,
that's where I'm at.
I've been spending a lot of time encouraging Democrats that if they're unhappy with what the party has done, they should leave the party. They can still vote for a Democratic presidential candidate, but if you're a Democrat who don't who thinks that the party masters have done you wrong 3 elections in a row, Joe
Yes,
Biden should have been the Democratic nominee in 2016. Not Joe Biden, uh, Vermont, Benny
very
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
Bernie Sanders should have been the nominee in 2016. They flat out cheated to make Hillary the nominee.
Oh yeah, thumb
Then,
is definitely on the scales.
yeah, then Joe Biden shouldn't have been the nominee in 2020, but they essentially used a fear cycle to prevent anybody else to prevent a coalition forming against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that to a certain extent, there's a little bit of Bernie I blame there, in that if Bernie had been willing to put his shit aside and say, you know what, I'm going to support a young
Pete
progressive,
Buttigieg or
right,
yeah.
Pete or somebody, then they would have rallied behind that person, and that person would have won. But they didn't. So that again, the party masters got their choice. And then, in 2024, as we're now learning, there's been a huge apparent conspiracy against the public committed by the Democratic Party, where they knew Joe was incapacitated. There's a article in the Atlantic talking about George Clooney and Barack Obama meeting Biden at a dinner in LA and having a conversation between the two of them afterwards, where they were stunned at how incapacitated Joe Biden was.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean,
it
And
makes me wonder. It isn't like he was the only candidate. You got to think back. Now, currently, I am no Tulsi Gabbard fan after
sure,
she jumped ship and hitched her wagon to Trump. That to me
yeah,
shows zero integrity. But at the time, I remember thinking she's the best candidate they've got, and she would probably beat Trump. And yet they cast her aside and went with Biden. I've
well,
never understood it at
I
all.
mean, I I I, I almost disagree on Tulsi Gabbard being, from a Democratic standpoint. I don't think. I mean, she's better on some issues than most Democrats, but then she's also pretty awful on other
yeah.
issues.
Her
Um,
anti-GSM stuff
yeah,
is going to
yeah,
be
it's just
impossible to overcome.
yeah. Plus, she is very cozy with, at least he's no longer a dictator, but Bashar al-Assad and several other
Mhm.
Mhm.
dictators in the world. But um, you
But
know,
but
I
even with
I
that,
think the problem is Biden was the incumbent, and there's always this reticence as a political party to run against an incumbent president. It's never worked out. Ted Kennedy ran against Jimmy Carter.
Pat
And led
Buchanan
to him
against
losing.
Ronald Reagan
Pat,
well,
well,
look
well, Pat
look
Buchanan
how it
against
against
George
went this
Bush.
past year.
Bush.
Yeah.
Look how it
Yeah,
went this past year. Kamala
yeah,
Harris, and a quasi incumbent didn't manage to run well against a loser like Donald Trump.
yeah. Well, I mean, the problem is the Democrats keep letting Donna Brazile pick their presidential candidates for them, and
Right.
she
That's
has
exactly it.
she has repeatedly shown her ability to pick the most worthless candidates.
Yeah,
Um, uh, you know,
I'm with you.
Hillary was in this coast mode. They thumbed the scales to get, they kept on getting left wing uh, stations to continue to cover Donald Trump when he was at 1% in the polls, just to boost
Right. They made
his.
they made Trump, and then they
And then she was
killed.
too lazy to run.
Yeah, she was too lazy to run. I mean, too lazy, too sick, whatever we want to say. But you're right. She never went to Wisconsin, which if she'd been there, she would have won.
Yeah,
Probably.
But also, they deliberately attacked the Bernie movement, which was insane. There's a great thing that Jon Stewart used to say when the when Ron Paul was running, and they had the Iowa caucus. This is for the 2012 election, and in the Iowa caucus, Mitt Romney isn't running. Says that he's not running in the caucus, uh, but whatever it is, the order of finish is I want to say it's Santorum. No, I think I.
Santorum always looked like he was
Yeah,
trying to hold in a shit.
He
exactly.
did. You're
Yeah,
nailing it. He did.
yeah. So I think that even though Romney said he's not running, he comes in first. I would have to look it up. Somebody can correct me, but Ron Paul comes in second at the Iowa caucus, and then it's Santorum, and then Paulenti, and then the ambassador from Utah, whose name is eluding me right now.
Oh, I know I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about. I can't.
It'll
I can
come to
see
you
him.
while
I
I'm
can't
talking about
remember
it.
his name.
But so Fox's coverage, they completely and Pawlenty drops out after the race. Tim Pawlenty, governor of Minnesota, drops out after the after the Iowa caucus. But when Fox is covering it, they say, we have this straw poll here, and let's not talk about Mitt Romney because even though he wasn't running, he was projected to win. Let's talk about the next person. Thank you, Kathy. Jon Huntsman, exactly right.
John
Let's
Huntsman.
talk
Yeah.
about let's talk about the next person in the race, and let's talk about Tim Pawlenty. They're like, you want to talk about Pawlenty? Pawlenty did so poorly that he dropped out. How are you forgetting to mention Ron Paul, who came in second place in the poll? And they're like, well, and let's not talk about Rick Santorum. It's like, Rick Santorum? I mean, Stewart's losing it here. And then they get to Chris Wallace, and he's like, now, of course, there is one result that we have to talk about. Jon Stewart's like, thank you. He says, let's talk about Jon Huntsman. He's like, Jon Huntsman? Jon Huntsman finished second among Mormons. He says, how can you ignore Ron Paul? Republicans, you say you want a grassroots movement. Ron Paul has been planting that grass for the last 20 years. And Democrats, Bernie Sanders has been planting that grass for you for the last 20 years. And now
Yeah.
he is making.
I mean, in many. Yeah. I mean, he is to the Democrats that Ron Paul was to the Republicans in that
Exactly like
Yes.
he's not really a Democrat. He is a democratic socialist. That's how he holds
Yeah,
himself out
absolutely.
as.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Ron Paul continues to hold himself out as a libertarian.
Yeah.
But I
He's
mean,
not. He's really not.
let's talk about. I mean, so we're talking about before we got off on this, but talking about the battle between Trump and Musk.
Right.
We got to the point where he Musk says that Donald Trump's in the Epstein list, and
Right.
Trump's supporters, one of his big supporters, one Steve Bannon, says that Elon Musk should be deported because he may be here illegally.
Oh my God.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, there have been I've seen reports that as a student he was working, which is illegal on a student visa. He wasn't actually in class when he was on a student visa, which yes, he would be here illegally if he had done that. He's got his citizenship now. Can you revoke his citizenship? I guess I don't know. I have no
I don't
idea.
think unless I would say no, you can't revoke his citizenship. Now, unless he ends up being Adolf Hitler.
Well, I mean, if you
don't
if you
think he
prove
would
that, well, if he proved that he attained his citizenship
that
through
it's
fraudulent
fraudulent,
means, I mean, that I think you could probably make the case there. But
which,
it's
considering
ironic
this
that somebody
administration's, I was
who
just saying, this
has carried.
administration's willingness to manufacture evidence, who knows?
Oh yeah. We can talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia in a
exactly.
moment, but somebody who's actually carried this administration and puffed up this administration about the deportations and everything. The irony of that he may be needing an immigration lawyer himself is rather delicious. So
I do hope that he turns Trump off Twitter again.
I do too, and I hope that he did say in response to some of this stuff is that if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be elected. And there have been lots of people who are begging, like, how
Let's
did you
face
do that? Tell me,
He's
please.
right.
Let's see. How did you ensure that Trump got elected? Now, it could be just as simple as if I didn't spend $300 million on this race, you wouldn't have gotten elected, which is
That's huge.
on par. But hey, Josh, how you doing?
But I mean,
Yeah.
think about
Josh,
it.
we need to get you on the show, man. We can talk about the
I would love
Project
to have
Liberal.
Josh on the show.
a $250 million he contributed to Trump's various PACs. That's huge.
$1 million a day, illegally given out to incent people to vote in Pennsylvania.
I mean, I've heard lots of people talk about they think that Trump found a way, and with Elon Musk's uh, IT background that he found a way to hack into. I From what I know of electoral systems and even the electronic voting systems, it's really hard to hack into an
Oh yeah,
electronic
no,
because
I don't believe that at all.
they're offline. They're not connected to a
It,
external system.
it's
Right.
not that. If I do recommend everybody watch the Hacking Democracy documentary that HBO made in 2000. The Diebold machines were eminently hackable, and I definitely believe that the uh, whatever is the company now that's suing
Oh,
Fox News, uh,
that won that case against Fox
right?
News.
Jelly Glove or whatever their name is. It's
Yeah.
not Jelly Glove, but whatever their name is. Yeah, I just rewatched Fletch.
Oh, there you go.
Dr. Jelly Glove. But the level of conspiracy that would be involved in a large scale hack, that is something that I don't think that it
Yeah,
would be possible to pull off.
for me, conspiracy theories will ultimately fall on the number of people that need to be involved for you to pull it off.
Right,
Yes.
Single person conspiracy theories are eminently more believable on mine. I can
sure.
believe government level
It's
conspiracies when you do have the ability to silence people,
It,
but
it,
it
it's
still has to be a relatively small group of people in charge.
right,
but you're nailing it here. It's on the same level as, when people say we never went to the moon,
right,
it would have taken like hundreds of thousands of people to have been in on that conspiracy and kept quiet. It's not possible. We
right,
went there, folks. We went to the moon multiple times. And yet there's people to this day that believe we didn't. That's the level you're talking about. It's
right.
almost impossible to comprehend.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And so,
the whole joke about Stanley Kubrick that he was hired to fake the moon
yes,
landing, but he was such a stickler for
details.
accuracy that he filmed it on location.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great joke. But I agree with that. So I mean, I think that Elon Musk can definitely take credit for a lot of what happened, but I think that a lot of it had to do with his influence rather than directly hacking voting machines.
Yeah.
His ability to spend money as a private citizen, which let's talk about this too, because we have been, I have been directly on the financial end of what you can and cannot do to support a presidential candidate. And an individual citizen acting on their own is not bound by anything. They can do anything they want except give money to a candidate directly,
Directly to
which
the
is fine.
candidate.
Elon Musk didn't do that, but he did everything else. And there's some argument about there's some argument about whether or not what Musk did was legal. I'm going to give you $1 million to vote. Uh,
Yeah.
However, it's sort of stupid because the way that you can get around the wording of that is it's trivial. Nobody's ever going to be prosecuted for that directly because it's easy enough for Musk to say, you know what, I'm having a rally, and if you tell me that you voted, then that's fine, and I'll pay you then. Come to a
I will
Trump rally,
say,
etc.
as Musk,
You should not have kicked Joe out for saying that.
I know.
That
Yeah,
is
that's what I
unfair.
do.
We
But
don't know what
I
happened
mean,
to Joe. Bad
what what
internet.
what I'm wondering. Well, we're also
Yeah,
having storms in the area, so if I
yeah.
disappear quickly, then you know what happened.
If
Um,
I disappear, guess you are. If Dave disappeared, guess you are in for a treat. Because
it's Dan after dark.
you know what that phrasing leads me to talk about a certain personality that is springing up again. I don't want to talk about
Uh-oh.
it, but let's talk a little bit about the way that we got here now, this fight and how it's going to end. And one of the really interesting things about it is that I do think that we are really at risk with the Trump jokes that are going around. So I repeated a joke that I'm not sure that I'm pretty sure wasn't true. But somebody said Elon Musk tweeted that Air Force One should now be referred to as Panda Express because it carries orange chicken. And I
Yeah,
thought,
I think that tweet is. I mean, I've seen people make that joke,
yep,
and I think somebody made that as a fake tweet. But the tweets that we've seen this week are on fire themselves. I mean, they have been. It's been entertaining to watch. Now we get to the point there's kind of a détente between the two for a couple days now, but I think what we have seen now is that the Trump administration is now trying to find a way to get that story out of the media.
yeah,
And what better way to do it to rally? Because, as unpopular as I think the immigration issue is, that's still probably one of his most popular issues amongst American citizens. Much as I hate it, the polling bears that out. So he's using and I think he's using some lessons that he learned in the George Floyd summer, uh, and applying it here. And so he is forcing a confrontation in the streets of LA over deporting what quote unquote illegal or undocumented workers. Is
right,
um, there's been they snatched him up out of a Home Depot lot uh, in California, and it's gotten really ugly. I mean, the protesters have surrounded the federal building that they're being held in. They're in response, the Trump administration has called up the National Guard, not at the request of the governor, which is very rare,
right.
and you know. It's escalating, and I will say this one thing, and I want
Yep,
if you are hooked in anybody who's protesting right now, who's out on the streets protesting the government, if you see somebody burning a private business, that person is doing the bidding of Donald Trump. That
right.
person is probably a Fed. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a Fed, but they're trying to gin up the idea that the National Guard is needed to rein in these lawless goons. And they are trying to, this is, Stephen Miller has been pushing the idea of suspending habeas corpus because of people protesting the Trump administration, and any violence that is used against the Trump administration will be used as a pretext. We are really on the precipice of things going beyond the line. That the line is we're like towing the line right now.
Well, it makes me wonder if we we could have
We're in
a
false
situation.
flag area.
Well, so I'm actually writing that post right now. But should Newsom be fighting back against the guard being used?
Yes.
Right?
How
Should
would
he?
he fight back?
Well,
Any state governor should.
yeah, I think that he can. It's an interesting question because the guard can only be federalized under very certain circumstances. And so if he were to contest that this is not a legal
Hey,
situation
Brandy.
in which the president can federalize the guard, I think it would have to go to court. I think that you could get an injunction immediately.
Sooner the better.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then see what happens. I also
Yeah.
think that you're right that we are probably in false flag territory.
We are. I mean,
yeah.
so I've already seen the pictures put out there of pallets of bricks being laid out
Yep.
and these are probably recycled from 2020, which were probably recycled from any other riot situation before. I don't know the veracity of those bricks being laid on the streets of LA, but you know, instead of saying, well, this is the Democrats doing this and putting the bricks on the streets of LA, hoping that there's a riot, it's the idea that the government can do this and antagonize people into a response. We've seen it so many times before, whether it was George Floyd, I can't remember his first name, Brown, in Missouri,
John
those
Brown.
protests, the
Oh, you mean the kid who was killed?
Michael Brown, I think.
Mike? Yeah, I thought you were going to say John Brown.
Not John
Uh,
Brown. I mean, that's a different thing.
yeah,
It is. I mean, and we've seen it. We saw it in Minneapolis where there were people that were suspected that were governmental
right,
activists
right.
that were attacking private businesses to make it look worse on the protesters in Minnesota. Minnesota, I mean, they burned down the jail there, but they or the police building. But if again, if you are a protester and you attack a private business, you are doing the bidding of the Trump administration because they're going to use any pretense to
Yeah,
waive habeas or
and
to suspend habeas corpus, to
it's
initiate
really interesting
martial
because
law.
Yes.
if for those of us, if I were in the opposition now, I would make sure that I had people on the ground who were doing that. Like I saw Maxine Waters out there. She's not a good choice. She is not
I
a good
mean,
choice to be
Never has
urging
been.
well,
caution,
I mean, she's also
anything else.
1,300 years old.
Right, exactly. She
Yeah,
is
but she's
literally
not going to
she
stop
knows,
anything.
but she
right.
knows biblical characters. She goes back that far.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Exactly right. Right. She recognizes the story of the Good Samaritan because
She,
she was
she
there.
and God were childhood friends. I mean, let's just
Exactly. Exactly. So, but if you had an organization, you could send people there, put people on the ground. The Democratic Party should be trying to do this, and they
yes.
should be sending the right people there.
But
Okay,
here's the
send a Pete Buttigieg.
yeah.
Send. Go ahead.
Well, here's the problem with what the Democrats are doing, and what the Democrats have been doing for the last, well, however long. I mean, their organization is more attuned to raising money off of things than actually doing something. Like, um, I the lady who gave the response to the State of the Union, she was gave a full throated address towards Donald Trump. Again, I wasn't real a big fan of, at least Slotkin, her name is. Um, wasn't a real big fan of her speech, but she did speak out against Trump, and then she took to Twitter and said, "As a new senator, my first bill will be to ban Chinese electric automobiles from coming into the country." Now, I get as Michigan senator that is a very near and dear project for you because that's a threat to your auto industry. I get that,
Right.
but your first bill in this climate should not be related to banning things from China. It should be related to banning Donald Trump from doing shit,
Yes.
or at
Yeah.
least addressing some of his abuses. Adam Schiff, who has been good on a lot of things, at least speaking out against the Trump administration, um,
Oh,
is pumping assault weapon bans. Like, the last thing we should be doing at this point in our country's history is giving up guns, especially
Well,
semi-automatic weapons.
and
yeah.
recently, what did they do?
Semi-fully automatic weapons, as they think they
Recently,
call them.
they killed the bill for suppressors, for silencers, so to speak. And it wasn't by that big of a margin, but they should have never killed that bill. Uh, Suppressors are a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think they're focusing on the wrong thing, but they're using what Trump is doing to fundraise. Let's raise a lot of money for 2026. We may not have a government in 2026, at least a government that has a Democratic Party involved in it.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully by you know how the pendulum swings. By 2026, and I am no fan of the Democrat Party, but by 2026, they should win by the barrelful against Donald Trump.
Well, they should, but here's the thing. Let's say the riots in downtown. Let's say we get 1992 level riots in LA.
Yeah.
Business
Well,
district is cratered. It's burnt to the
but
ground, and
that's
Donald Trump uses that as a pretext for
oh yeah.
suspending habeas corpus, to suspend elections, to suspend everything, calling martial
But
law,
but
and his people will eat it up.
Well,
that's
here's
where.
the thing.
Go ahead,
You know,
Joe.
I think I apologize, Dan. You're
No,
much
no,
more
you go.
scholarly than
You
me.
go.
I'm just throwing out an
No,
opinion.
go.
But between now and then, something's going to happen to the Trump administration. He's either going to be overthrown by people by the military. He's going to either, I hate to say it, be assassinated, or he's going to resign. But there is going to be an end to his administration, one way or the other. I don't know how it's going to come about, but I'm confident that it will. And personally, I'm looking forward to seeing it happen in any way.
Hey, Norway.
Pardon?
Norway. Norway. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to see the guy gone. I want to see everybody who's worked for his administration and supported him be brought to trial, be brought to justice, be thrown in jail, and that'll be good for the country. That's what I'm hoping between now and 2026.
I mean, okay. Donald Trump's an old dude, and he could very easily.
Let me just
Yeah.
go back quickly. If Trump leaves office via assassination, that's worse than what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because it really, every time we inject force into this conversation, into this scenario, we are escalating it. And we have an example, right? In many ways, the proudest moment in American history is when we were able to defeat Jim Crow, when we were able to defeat race laws through nonviolence. And it happened because we had exceptional leaders at the time. And I'll point out that exceptional leaders can still be flawed as people, but what they did and what they stood for, Dr. King, if you go back and you reread those speeches, letter from a Birmingham jail, inspirational stuff. And one of the things he said is, all we are asking for you, America, is to be true to what you put down on paper. You know,
Dan, you're nailing it, Dan. You're nailing it. The problem is one thing that you just focused on. We don't have any inspirational leaders today. We don't have a Martin Luther King. We don't. We don't have.
We don't because the nature of the way our media cycle works now is that anybody who appears to be like that gets attacked, and they get attacked hardcore on one side or the other. And so, Dave talked about it earlier, is that you need somebody who can survive the slings and arrows, who can survive that level of attack and be calm. What is the phrase?
Maybe even sacrificing themselves.
Well,
and that's what King did. He sacrificed himself.
Exactly.
Martin Luther King was that person who could be calm, who could draw all the sides together. He could draw them together, and eventually, it got nasty.
And so if we're going to make an interesting statement about, sort of tying around, like, redeeming people through your death, right? And if we were going to make a religious connection, or Dr. King, does it happen? Does the civil rights movement succeed as well if Dr. King isn't assassinated? It's a terrible thought, and I hope that we don't have to go down there. But I do think that there are people out there who could be in this spot right now. I don't know if Newsom can do it or not. He certainly hasn't shown the thing, but I think that there are, first of all, I think that you could have there are very good Hispanic leaders out there. Some of them, like, I don't know, Dave.
I think you like Dr. King, you got to look beyond politics. I don't think you're going to get through this with a political leader. I don't think because that they already have half the country.
It has to be Oprah.
It has to be a peace.
Maybe not Oprah.
But no, then we'll get Dr. Oz.
So wait
a minute, we already do.
let me maybe suggest it this way. This is where Barack Obama actually could do this. He can't be president again, right? It's like, I'm not here to be president. I'm not here to win anything. What I am here to do,
unless Trump gets his way with the third term,
to marshal our forces. Well, and then that's the threat. It's like, if you're going to change that, then I can run a third time too. But there are also other people out there. Like I Dave, I know you have mixed feelings about Bill Richardson, but he's only
he's dead. So
is he? Did he die?
Yeah, he died.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't think he
Yeah.
should come back.
Wow.
All right.
Bill
I mean,
Richardson, the former governor of what? New Mexico?
New Mexico, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't he
He's a
also-
good guy. He was on the Epstein list. But
Yes.
Epstein
Yeah.
also had a ranch out in Moriarty, New Mexico, Edgewood, New Mexico.
You know,
So,
I want to go
uh,
back to what Dan said. You know, Dan nailed it with Obama. You know, and I apologize, folks. You know, when Obama came to power, I always viewed him as quite the lightweight, and yet through his 2 terms, he never did anything to embarrass us as a nation in front of the rest of the world. He was educated, he presented himself professionally, and I admire him for that. And now, today, to hear him speaking out against Trump, you're right. He might be exactly the guy we need to
I still don't
draw
think it's going to be a
magnifying
politician that
glass
does
on
this,
us.
but I also
Well-
think that we are in a situation where,
who else?
you know, politics.
I'm open to
You know,
anything.
the
You
problem
think
is, yeah, I think we're so cynical that even if it's a religious leader, that we're going to say, you know, oh, they're just
Right.
in it to
I think if it's a
drive the
religious
religion.
leader, it's a
Well,
disaster.
what? Show
But-
me a religious leader we can depend on. Is it Franklin?
Joel
Graham?
Osteen, brother.
No,
No.
Yeah.
What do you think? Of Joel Osteen? I'm just curious. I mean, it's not Franklin Graham. What do you think of
Creflo
Joel
Dollar. Creflo
Well,
Dollar.
I mean, I'm thinking, you know, other past Hispanic greats, you know, maybe a Julian Castro or is Henry Cisneros still alive?
Yeah, I don't know. But you know,
But people like that. But I love the idea of Obama going there in the beginning and being, you know, the peacenik in chief,
the
the man who's
emissary?
going to lead the
The
peaceful
emissary.
protests
Yes.
and that sort of thing, because that's what won. You know,
All right.
again, I go back to Martin Luther King when he said, you know, when these kids were sitting down at lunch counters throughout the American South, they were actually standing up for what was best in our country's history. And that's the sort of thing that is going to change this. The sit down protests. You think about all the things that we overcame the strong conservative right objection to. We overcame the strong conservative right wing objection to gay marriage, not through violence, but through peaceful examples of, look, this is not a threat to you. This is how we changed the world. Same thing, how we did cannabis.
Yeah. You know, and I want to comment on Laura's comment that she just put in. She just commented that Joel Osteen is a motivational speaker. Yes, she's right.
True.
Then she
Yeah.
says he's not a religious leader. I think she's incorrect there. I think he's
Well,
both. But,
you know, I would actually agree with her on that because
and
I
Dave,
don't identify his religion. I like
Dave,
it's
I'm
not
gonna,
Christian. Certainly, what he's
Oh,
pushing is not
Dave,
Christian.
Dave, let me comment, please, if I may, from a personal viewpoint. You're right. Laura, Dave, you're right. He is extremely, extremely motivational. But I can say from this personal gentleman's point of view, part of my journey to Christ was through the support and encouragement of Joel Osteen. I have read his books. I like the man. I don't care what people say about his church and the way he lives, but I've never once heard him say anything anti-Christ or anti-positive. I like the guy, and I'm going to stand up for him at this moment because I think he is. I think he's excellent as both a religious leader and, damn it, a motivational speaker. Yes.
I mean, I get the motivational stuff. The whole prosperity ministry stuff. Just
Careful there. You know, I've heard people criticize him about a prosperity ministry. I once went to ends with a family member where they were going negative against him because they said, "Oh, he always speaks of prosperity ministry." And I said, "Explain that to me." And they said, "Well, he's all about money. He's all about success. He's all about, you know, you getting ahead and taking from others. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I've never once heard him speak of this. Not once. I've read his books. I've listened to his devotionals daily, and never once have I heard him say anything about selfishness. I've never heard him say anything about uh, getting ahead yourself over others. Uh, I mean, everything I've ever heard this man say, and
He
I mean
he
this
does.
honestly, everything I've ever heard this man say has been very humble and very, he's trying to promote a individual, me, you, anybody, about being a better person, about serving God, about serving Christ, and making themselves, of all things, think about it, humble. I like that about him.
Yeah, humble would be awesome. Uh, and Austin is not particularly different from any other Christian leader. Perhaps
I
with
mean, I
the
have the same
exception
problems with the
of
Catholic Church.
of Pope Francis. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that Austin has certainly said that gay marriage is not what God intended, and he is not a approach. He is a pro-life, anti-choice person. Doesn't play a prominent role in his ministry, but I mean, you can criticize almost every Christian leader. Well,
Sure.
every organized church level, past from I would say in terms of authoritarian from Episcopal up, right? I think Episcopals just allowed uh, priests to marry, right? Um, Beyond that, you start to get into the realm of just sort of crazy rules and stuff like that. I think that, but for me, institutionalized religion is a contradiction in terms. I don't get
Well,
the idea of wanting to have a church with more than
I
five
I
people in
I'm
it.
I want to go further here and say, I don't think, you know, they say whenever two or more of us uh, meet and pray, God is with us, and that's a wonderful thing. But there's times
I
when
just want to point out that's not what the Bible says, right? The Bible
yes,
says you have to have 10 men.
yes, but I do believe, for example, myself, I have a very close and personal relationship with God. Um, thank heavens he's here. He's in my heart. He's in my redeemer. I don't need all these other people around me in a church or a Bible study group, you name it, to validate that. It's between me and God.
Yes.
And it's a
Yep.
wonderful, wonderful thing. And if somebody like Joel can help facilitate that, especially when you're questioning or you're weak or you're failing, I think that's a wonderful thing. Uh, and that'll speak well for him uh, as time goes on. But I just don't believe that, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in our God. We have to believe in, well, simply what we believe in, which is Him. And as long as we do that and we pursue that, we're in good shape. Um, now, Dan, you may have some different spins on this that you want to give me, and
Essentially what I worry about is that the oldest the oldest job in the business, right? The oldest job in the world is not prostitution, right? The oldest job in the world is manipulation.
we have to avoid it at all costs. We
Exactly,
have to avoid it.
exactly right.
Yes.
And when we have people who advocate groupthink at any level,
Hmm.
I think that's where we walk into trouble.
Yep.
And in situations where we have, you know, any mega religion, and so I mean, I've run the gamut. Obviously, I was raised Jewish. I declared myself an atheist, uh, really to piss off my parents more than anything else. But I mean, I had a lot of questions too. I my parents sent me to a Jewish nursery school. I got kicked out of class because I had said, if Adam and Eve only have the three sons, Cain, Abel, and Seth, who did they marry?
Bingo.
Stuff like that. And
Bingo.
exactly. And Noah's obviously an incredibly troublesome story. You can't make that work.
Well, I
The way
mean,
they described it.
every culture has a flood narrative.
Every culture does have a flood story. It's
I
absolutely
mean, I
true.
think Gilgamesh has the flood narrative in it. So.
Well, my favorite is Herodotus. For people who haven't read Herodotus, the father of history, he has a story that Xerxes has this dream where his daughter grows to the size of a mountain and then urinates and floods the earth. It's a wonderful thing. 3,000
Wow.
years old, right?
Wow.
Predates.
New
predates any-
kink achieved.
Exactly. Exactly. New kink achieved. But so then I went from atheist to from Jewish to atheist to then I couldn't be atheist after like at 12 years old, and I saw Laura Protz in a sundress, and I'm like, there is a God, and He is speaking to me right now.
Well, I could get that, Dan. I could get that, Dan.
Yeah.
The God or devil?
Yeah.
No, it's I mean it's well, so that's part two though, because trying to wrap my head around the idea of a divine being that wants worship, that's insane to me, right? Because I think any
Well-
person that I know or admire doesn't want to be worshiped. They think it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. And then to be a creator, and then create rules which would condemn people to permanent death or torture or whatever you think hell is, that's pretty crazy.
Okay, so you can make a great point here, Dan. Man, I love your perspective. I love it. I don't think any divine creator, that's my God. God, 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 God. I don't think any God wants that, but I do think they want to be thanked. When you consider how much they bless us, how much they nurture us, how much they move us through life, being thanked is not unreasonable. And that's how I look at it. I thank my God daily. And I just think I look at everything around us. I think about how Earth, think of Earth. The moon rotates around Earth, and because of it, Earth spins at a certain rate. If it wasn't for the moon, that wouldn't happen. And because of that, life is here. If we were 10% further from the sun, we would be a frozen body. If we were 10% closer, we would be burned up. Everything that has gone on in this world is so unbelievably perfection. And when I think about how that could happen, it couldn't happen by just chance. Damn it couldn't. There has to be some intelligence behind it. And that's our incredible God saying, this is going to happen right here. And I'm going to make it happen because, damn it, I can. And He did.
So
And
while we're revealing our religious preferences,
exactly.
here's where
Go
I
ahead.
fall on
Go, Dave.
the spectrum. I was raised a Catholic. I called myself recreational Catholic for probably 30 years.
Yeah.
I never really was a big,
You and me both.
not a really big member of the church. I don't like a lot of what the Catholic Church has done in its history, or what it's doing right now, especially when it comes to the Pope and what has gone on with sexual abuse. To me, I never called myself an atheist because I don't know. And then so I couch myself in the agnostic, but I do think that there is a higher power. I don't think that the power is actively looking down on us. I think there is an energy in this cosmos. I don't know what's beyond the universe. universe, and that's why I can't say I'm an atheist or I believe that there is a God. We don't know what's beyond the universe. We don't know if we're in a multi-universe. We don't know if
Nor should
there's
we.
something beyond the multi-universes
We-
that we could be a speck of crap underneath the pinky fingernail of
We
a God.
are. We are a speck of crap, and we don't have to understand everything. We don't.
No, and
I will-
but I'm not going to say, you know what, and I know that neither one of you are going to say, you know what, you should believe what the fuck I believe.
I'm not going to say that. No.
You know, like,
Dan's not going
and
to say that. Dan's too cool.
well,
we're in a country right now
Yeah.
that uses religion as a cudgel to force us to believe certain things or force us to adhere to a certain set of beliefs that are literally destroying lives.
Yes, you're right. It's counterproductive. It's personal. It's between
100%.
you. It's between you and God. That's it.
And,
And
and if we had more of that, if we had people saying to themselves, what is morally right in this situation? Let me have a conversation with that voice in my head, whatever it is, we'd be in a better place. But too
Sure.
many people are willing to say, I don't want to have that conversation now. I want somebody else to make the
Make that
decisions
decision. Yep.
for me. All right,
No.
I'm going to tell my favorite Catholic joke, and
All right.
then we'll move on.
all right, go.
So Matthew walks into confession one day. Father Murphy's hearing confession. He says, "Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been a week since my last confession. In that time, I stole some lumber from my employer." It's like, that's a very serious sin. I mean, you'll have to say 5 Hail Marys for that. He's like, all right, I will, Father. Next week he comes in. Says, "Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been a week since my last confession. During that time, I stole some more lumber from my employer." Jesus, Jerry, and Moses, Joseph. Did you learn nothing from the first time? I'm feeling like you're not repentant here. All right. 5 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers, and I want you to make a donation on the way out.
You're kind of Irish here, aren't you?
I don't know the Irish.
Yes.
I'm Irish Catholic, yeah. So third time he comes in. Says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been weeks of my last confession. In that time, I stole lumber again from my employer." Oh my God! How can you possibly? You know what you're going to have to do here? He's like, "Do you know what an act of perfect contrition is?" He's like, sure, Father, sure, Father." He's like, "You're going to have to make an act of perfect contrition." He's like, "Well, Father, I guess I was just saying yes there. I don't actually know how to make an act of perfect contrition. But if you've got the plans, I've got the lumber."
All right. So
No,
here's my Catholic joke.
All right.
Mordecai finds himself outside of a Catholic church and decides to go in, and the father's seated in the confessional, so he pops in and he goes, "Forgive me, Father, I've sinned. It's my first time ever being in a confessional, but I just wanted to talk about I was walking around and went to a bar, and this lovely lady sat next to me and plied me with drinks, and one thing led to another, and we had night of just amazing sex. So just 4 or 5 times we went at it, and it was the best night of my life. And the Catholic priest goes, I see, my son. Well, having sex outside of marriage is a mortal sin, and we need you to say 5 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers. And he says, "Oh, no, I'm not Catholic." He goes, "Well, why are you here?" He's like, "I'm telling everybody about this."
All right. So, there's these 3 couples, okay, and they're all. You with me, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're all going to the priest. They all want to become part of the Catholic Church, and the priest says, my children, you have to do one act, and that is you have to avoid sex for the next week if you want to join the Catholic Church. Have you heard this one?
No.
Oh, so a week goes by and they all come back, and he says, "My children, how have you done?" And the older couple, there were 3 couples. The older couple says, "Well, Father, it really wasn't that tough for us. We don't do it that often, so we really didn't have any problem. So we're all good." And he says, "Welcome, my children, to the Catholic Church." You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the second couple says, "Well, Father, got to tell you, I mean, it was a little difficult. It was a little difficult, the first week especially, we really struggled to get through this. But as time went on, we were able to abstain. And Father, we didn't have sex for the whole week." And he says, "Welcome, my children. You are welcome to the Catholic Church." Finally, he goes to the younger couple and he says, "And how did the 2 of you do?" He says, "Well, Father, I got to tell you, it was pretty difficult, but we tried really hard. And then there was this day, Father, oh my God, there she was, Father, wearing that halter top, wearing those super short hot pants, leaning over the freezer, Lord. I mean, I did all I could, but I had to have her right there." And the priest says, I'm sorry, my children. You are not welcome into the Catholic Church." And the guy says, "Oh, that's okay, Father. We're not welcome in Giant Eagle either." Right
That's good
over the
stuff.
freezer, Dave.
Oh yeah.
Good.
For those who are not in the Pennsylvania area, Giant Eagle is a grocery store.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's great. Great stuff.
Thank you for working me through that.
Thank you, everybody. Remember to tip your servers. The 7:30 show is different from the 5.
Try the veal. Speaking of veal, let's do the quiz.
Yeah, let's quiz it
Yes,
up.
please.
All right. Let me share the screen.
And in the meantime, I hope they all really liked my Giant Eagle joke.
I enjoyed your Giant Eagle.
You really.
And if Giant Eagle would want to sponsor us,
That's
I
right.
think that would be great.
They really should after that.
Exactly. I do think that saying we're not welcome in the grocery store anymore will get you more universal laughs. And my note for Dave, as you know, I'm a note guy, is that instead of saying "Why are you here?" the priest should say, "Why are you telling me this?" And then he responds, "I'm telling everybody."
Telling everybody.
Exactly.
No, Father, I'm Jewish. I'm telling everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Hold on a second. New browser. So I gotta shrink this.
Is it Brave? Are you using Brave now?
No.
Ooh.
I just had to. I was reloading everything on my computer the week that the camera went out. So
Yep.
all right. So question number 1: which reason did Donald Trump cite when he signed a proclamation this week banning travel from 12 countries to the United States? They raised tariffs on imports, alleged human rights violations, national security and public safety threats, or they supply nuclear materials to North Korea.
He's not an asshole is not a choice.
Well, he is an asshole. So
Yes, but it's not a choice, is it here?
no, this is not a choice of.
I'm stuck then. I'm really stuck then.
Heidi
Dan, I
says
need your
national
help.
security, and I think that's the correct answer.
I guess so. I mean, it's going to be the most vague thing.
Yeah,
So,
it was national security in that some of the countries that he named, Kathy says national security as well, like Sierra Leone is on the list. And the reason why they were giving on Sierra Leone is that their folks overstay their visas. They had the highest overstay rate of visas. That's why they
Interesting.
were on the list. So, yeah, look, I think it's national security and public safety. And that's correct. Trump cited the need to protect the United States from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats when banning the 12 countries.
He's such
You
a
know,
phone.
he's I mean, literally, he's a terrorist. He's using terror
He is.
for political gains, and that is the textbook definition of terrorism. So, question number 2: a man recently attacked a group of people for calling the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza with incendiary devices and a makeshift flamethrower. Where did this incident take place, Dan? I know you know because you were very
I was there.
close.
I was in Denver at the time. It took place in Boulder.
Yeah.
Boulder,
Choices
Colorado,
are
really?
Bakersfield,
Yep.
That's a
Bakersfield,
hip,
Bristol,
that's a
Connecticut,
hip
Bear,
with it
Delaware,
kind
or
of town.
No, it's a hip little town, but you know, it's a college town, and this is sort of goes to
but
where
he
a
wasn't
lot
a college student.
of he wasn't a college
Great
student.
stores, great
Yeah,
places they have in that town. It's
no,
beautiful.
but
Yeah.
college towns tend to have that sort of intersectionality of running everything together,
Mm.
and so you know, it is what it is.
It was awful and stupid. Like
Yep.
there was no rhyme or reason to that. Yeah, these people
No.
are talking about releasing hostages, and he attacks them.
Yeah. Yep.
Just stupid. But yeah, Brandy got it. Heidi got it. Craig got it. Kathy got it. Good job, everybody. Question number 3. The acting head of which government agency told staffers this week that he was unaware the U.S. has a hurricane season?
Oh my God.
Department of Homeland Security, National Weather Service, please, is probably that. Federal Emergency Management Agency, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric
National
Administration.
Weather Service.
Is it? I was going to guess FEMA, but it could be National Weather Service. I know that they are unbelievably short-staffed right now.
I
I
think
don't,
everybody is pretty much
I don't
short.
care. I
Yeah.
don't care.
My
All
guess
right.
is FEMA, but I can go with National Weather Service.
Randy says FEMA as well. So, I mean, all of these are both tragic and plausible. It looks like a guy because it looks like somebody wearing a certain suit. So it's not the head of Department of Homeland Security because that's Christy Nome,
Right.
the Roman gnome.
You mean the puppy? Do you mean the puppy
The-
killer? The
The
puppy
puppy
killer.
The garden. gnome.
Heidi says Noah. Daryl says FEMA. So
FEMA.
let's go FEMA.
All right.
It is FEMA.
Yeah. Dude, could that guy look
Look out.
more like a cartoon villain? Holy crap.
He probably at least doesn't shoot puppies. I'm just saying.
Oh, well,
Maybe.
if that's her, I mean, it's a low bar. It's a low bar.
It is a low
Um,
bar.
Yeah, so while some FEMA personnel interpreted the remark as a joke, others said it raised concerns about acting head David Richardson's ability to lead the agency during such a critical time, which includes hurricane season that started on the 1st. Yay.
Plus, I'll throw this out. His tie
Hey,
looks
Vern.
terrible.
Sorry.
His tie, not only does his tie look terrible, his tie
He looks like Jim Varney.
Yeah, he does. But his tie
Hey,
looks
Vern.
horrible. That tie is the worst.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing there. Question number 4. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered the Navy to rename which ship? The USNS Harvey Milk, the USS Jimmy Carter, the USS John McCain, or the USNS Sojourner Truth?
The Harvey Milk.
Yeah.
Because he's
Yeah.
such an
Which is-
idiot.
It's crazy
you know-
that they, I mean, it's an interesting thing that they said.
Harvey was a veteran.
They said that they deliberately did this during Pride Month.
You know, hey,
Oh, yeah.
Pete, you're an idiot. I just want you to know you're an idiot.
When
He's an
he
idiot. He's a drunk. He's a moron.
when he told me about this on Signal last month,
Yeah.
I thought that was a
everybody
good-
got that one. Kathy, Craig, Brandy, Laura, and Daryl. Good job, everybody. All
Who
right.
would get it
Question
wrong?
number
Right.
5.
But I mean, the thing is too. So they're renaming it after David Duke, and I just
Oh,
think
Jesus.
that's
Come on. Is that what we get for libertarians in the cabinet?
I like Daryl's comment. Harvey Milk too gay, even for the Navy.
Just like to say, Dave, there's yet a libertarian in the cabinet yet. There's not.
No, there is not.
There is not.
Although Angela had a thing where she had an announcement. She still has no job, which is kind of like the premise of the backroom casting couch. There is no job.
Well, Angela would never have a real job. She's just an idiot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Question number 5. The Department of Justice recently dropped criminal charges against which company? Amazon, Apple, Boeing, or Microsoft?
I don't
It's not
know.
going to be Amazon.
Help you here, Dan. I don't know.
My
I gotta
guess
say
is,
Boeing.
yeah, my guess is going to be Boeing because all the tech people are, they did the brown nosing. They did the act of.
Oh yeah, they still are, except for Elon now.
Right. So I think, and I don't think they were charged with anything. So I'm going to guess Boeing, but I don't know. Let's see what.
Oh, Angela is chair of the Mises Caucus now.
Did you
Well,
not know
How did
that?
that election go?
Just shoot her. She's
Yeah.
like irrelevant. Just shoot her.
I mean, I think my favorite comment. A lot of people
Boing.
saying, "Well, I hope she does for their budget
Boing.
what she did for the Libertarian one."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, lots of rats have fled that ship. So, yeah, let's go with Boeing on this one. Correct.
Nice.
The DOJ dropped its criminal case against Boeing despite the company agreeing to plead guilty last year to its role in 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes that killed 346 people.
It is
Lovely.
an interesting case because they made a plane that was flawed, but it was flawed in that it required an incredibly high level of pilot and co-pilot training. There never was a Supermax crash in the United States, and
There wasn't, but you also, the thing was giving false readings. That was the problem.
no, absolutely true. It was
I want
broken.
to comment. The crash of US Air 427 into the hillside outside of Pittsburgh was major. That should have never happened, and yet it was a design flaw that killed people in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 6. Senators, governors, and other well-known figures have received text messages and phone calls from an impersonator claiming to be which key member of President Trump's inner circle? First Lady Melania Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, or Trump advisor Stephen Miller?
No,
I have no idea on this one.
I have no idea on this one.
I do not know.
If I were going to guess, I would say Stephen Miller. Just because
Stephen Miller or Vance, either one of those.
Right.
Either one we can't stand.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a call from either the president or the vice president. You actually the way it comes through is that please hold for so and so. Oh, we got some answers. We got Vance.
All right, everybody.
So if you don't get the please stand by for the vice president. I don't know if they do that for the vice president, but
Brandy thinks Miller, but she says total guess. We got 2 Vances. I say we go for a text in the Vance.
wow.
Go for it.
Oh, it's Susie Wiles, huh?
Wow.
Susie Wiles is one of President Trump's closest advisors and the first woman to hold the title of Chief of Staff. Senior White House officials said that Wiles told others in the Trump administration that she believes her personal phone and contact list had been hacked. The person that basically controls the access to the president has had her phone hacked.
Well, isn't she? I mean, it goes to the lack of technical understanding in this administration and their unwillingness to give up a little bit of convenience in return for some security.
Hold her accountable, people.
Yeah, nobody's getting held accountable in this administration.
I mean,
they'll investigate themselves and found they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what you would hold her accountable for. that Pete Hegseth didn't violate. And for one thing, right, she's actually not an elected official. I don't even
No.
think she's congressionally approved, right?
Mm.
Chief of staff
No, I
is
don't think the chief
Sad.
of staff gets congressional approval. I think
Yeah,
the
so
president
Sad.
can have any
yeah,
advisor they want.
yeah, I think that
She lended to Hegseth. Well, was she in one of the Hegseth chats? I mean, that might be
she's
the way
not.
that she got.
Could have been a signal. Could have been a signal. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, but interesting. All right, question number 7. Which NBA team fired its head coach this week? The Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, Dallas Mavericks, or LA Lakers? I actually know this one.
I do
You
not.
know it. I was going to say, who
I do
cares?
not know.
Who
It is
cares?
the New York Knicks. It was strange because the Knicks just made the conference finals and lost and made the conference final the first time
Yes,
in
but
years.
didn't their last coach bring them as deep as they had been in years?
Yes, yes. I
That's
mean,
what he's saying.
And yet they
Ooh.
canned him.
yeah. Tom Thibodeau, the coach of the Knicks, got
Thibodeau.
fired.
Yes.
Yep. The Knicks fired head coach Tom Thibodeau just days after the team was eliminated from the playoffs by the Indiana Pacers.
Hmm.
I don't get it, but Brandy got the answer as well.
There is no job security today. Let's face it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure Greg got it as well.
You know, it's funny. So Thibodeau was the coach from. He was assistant coach of the Celtics and then coach of the Bulls for a while, and had a reputation for wearing players out, including Derrick Rose, who was MVP, looked to be the future of the Bulls, and then was just worn out because Thibodeau played him too many minutes. So I wonder if that had
Yeah.
something to do with it.
I mean, there are coaches that I'm thinking in hockey terms, like a guy like Mike Keenan that,
Yeah,
and John Tortorella, who really kind of wear out their welcomes fairly quickly. Pete DeBoer is another coach like that wear out their welcome, and they get fired in relatively unceremonious ways. Gerard Gallant is another coach in hockey that gets fired despite having a lot of success coaching and getting a coach that gets a lot out of their players through what they call sometimes draconian tactics tend to have a short shelf life in sports.
He just needs the right team and the right opportunity, and then he blooms dramatically.
There you go. Question number 8. Which popular item? I've read some of the answers and that disgust me. Which popular item is returning to the McDonald's menu? Fried apple pie, chicken Caesar salad, McSushi,
No.
or snack wrap?
No.
if I were gonna,
McSushi. This is, I went up
No.
to Rhode Island back in like the early 2000s, and they had a lobster roll.
This
Which
is
I
why
thought was an
I
abomination.
never go through. This is why I never go through the McDonald's drive-through ever again. Never.
It's been a long time. I mean, my wife will get McDonald's every once in a while. Kathy says snack wraps. Brandy says McNasty. Oh,
Do they have the McPig sandwich?
the McRib.
The McPig, yes.
McPig, yeah. That goes away from time to time. So
Okay.
a lot of people are saying snack wraps. I don't eat enough at McDonald's to really make that guess. So we'll go
Love
with
you,
what the
Dave.
crowd says. Yes, correct. The snack wrap, chicken, lettuce, shredded cheese, wrapped in a tortilla, will return to McDonald's menus on July 10th. But the fast food chain really should bring back fried apple pies. The baked ones don't measure up.
I was going to say that does not sound like a winner at all.
And fried apple pies, and they're the same as the coffee that burned that lady in Albuquerque.
Yeah, but
When they were fried, they were. Essentially, the center was the surface temperature of the sun. It was like licking the sun.
it's true, but the fried apple pie was at least consistent over the last 35 years.
Sure. Again, cooked to the level of the surface temperature of the sun.
Well,
It's not
did we really need those taste buds left in our mouth? Seriously.
Did we need that tongue? No, not really.
No, we didn't. We didn't. We just needed the apple.
Question number 9. A truck overturned last week in Washington State, allowing which of the following to escape? Oh, great. A flock of 50 sheep, 250 million honeybees, 3,000 chickens, or 5,000 helium balloons.
Oh, God.
Daryl will know this because he lives in
99
Washington.
Schloof
I
balloons.
do not know.
I think that it's chickens, but it
Did they
might be
count them
balloons.
before they
Need you here,
Uh,
Dan. I can't help you with here, Dan. Help me.
well, Daryl will know. Uh, the thing is, right. I mean, obviously, they knew because they knew how many were loaded on. Daryl says bees.
Bees.
He
All
says
right,
bees.
let's go bees.
You know, one of my favorite gifs in the whole world is like it's an Oprah gif
Yeah,
of like when she does her big giveaway shows.
you
And
get a new
somebody,
car.
yeah. So she has like this big box that reveals things, and it flows down, and she's like bees, and like
Oh,
somebody
you've
digitally did
got
like a
100
bunch of
million
bees
bees.
coming out, and
And
people are like
you've got
freaking out. It's
100 million
beautiful.
bees. And you've got 100 million bees. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not murder hornets. Let's take the win where we
Murder
can get it,
hornets.
because that
Yes.
was up in the Pacific Northwest as well. So
No, we had murder hornets here too.
did we?
Yep.
Great. Yay. Correct. A truck hauling an estimated 70,000 pounds of hives rolled over
Yes.
close to the Canadian border. That's how we invade Canada, with bees.
Exactly.
But they'll love it. They'll love every minute of it.
Yeah, the free healthcare or something. I
We
don't know.
need the bees. Or
Somebody
specifically,
nobody still explained to me how for on Trump's side explained to me how bringing in 30 million, 35 million Canadians into our electoral system is a good thing for Republicans. Like I
it's the killer beast. That's what
yeah.
does it. It's the
Right.
killer beast.
Yeah, they'll tell you that what they only want is Alberta.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All right.
Banff. And Banff.
Question number 10, a chance for a 9 out of 10 week. A group of actors from Back to the Future issued pleas to fans and collectors to help find which missing piece of movie memorabilia: the flux capacitor, Marty's puffy red vest, an electric guitar, or George McFly's novel. I'm looking at the picture here, and I'm thinking maybe it's the red vest.
I've got to say George McFly's novel.
I'm seeing red here, and
Excuse me. I think the red vest.
It's the pages. It's the pages open. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because George McFly's
was it
novel,
in the
they're like 50.
context clues?
Right.
Hold on.
They have the box. You think there's something in the
Yep.
context clue?
We didn't even look at the context clues. So
No, we need
That was
George
the boat.
McFly.
That's Boulder.
We need George McFly here.
no, that's Trump.
And his
All right, so we didn't get
novel that made him famous. Yes, it's George.
Kathy says vest. Heidi says novel. The question.
Come back. There it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
There.
I don't know. I mean,
Randy says guitar, so we're kind of all over the place here.
yeah. I mean, I don't know why anybody would. It says a group of actors issued a plea to help find which missing piece of movie memorabilia. Why would you care about the vest?
How well?
Right? Why would you care about anything?
How's Michael J. Fox doing?
How would you
he's
not
okay.
pick? How would you not pick George McFly's novel? Is what I want to know.
Because it probably wasn't a novel.
I mean,
he
remember,
made his money from it. You know he did.
remember the
George McFly
right, we got 2
got
for
his
guitar.
novel delivered that day, and you know what happened next?
right.
Do you remember?
No.
Biff shows
I'm
up.
trying to remember.
No, George got laid. George got laid after the novel was delivered.
Interesting.
Yes.
That I don't. Oh, I guess I do remember that.
I mean, I remember.
My
They got laid after the punch.
My guess is the guitar with Laura and Randy saying guitar. So The other
let's
still
check it.
makes sense to me. Yeah.
Let's do guitar. Correct. Michael J. Fox
Yeah.
played the now missing Gibson ES345 guitar in the pivotal Enchantment Under the Sea scene.
So what you're telling me, Dave, is I was wrong.
I believe so, yes.
Dave, my fragile ego will not take this. I want you to know.
Well, I mean,
Oh, wait.
he's gonna bully us.
I'm gone. Kablam.
All right. Well, we got 9 out of 10 this week. Not bad. Not bad.
Not
We
bad
got
at all.
shocked by that by
Yeah.
Susie Wiles. I mean, of anybody in the administration that would impersonate it would be somebody not Susie Wiles. But if she thinks that she got her phone hacked, what the?
Well, leave it to Susie Wiles, huh?
Baby Wilesen. All
Are
right.
you guys more fun or what? I mean, it's like every week.
We
It's
try.
a good time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and right now I think we're all in this place where we have to laugh to keep ourselves from
Well,
going crazy.
Yes.
Because
So,
some of the
and I
things
want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for all my comments about Joel Osteen. They were
No,
heartfelt,
you're good.
and you were very, very gentlemanly about it. But I stand by them all.
totally fine.
All right.
Totally
Well,
fine.
thanks everyone for joining us this week. Dan, you're out next week.
No, I should be back.
Okay.
I
If you want
the
to,
last
you should interview a few people while you're there.
maybe I will do that.
Well,
You know what? I might interview them on Real Report, and then we can show it on the air.
There you
cool.
go. There you go. That works.
I mean, I'm actually out there for I'm out there just to pitch Real Report, and the rest of the time I'm not really doing anything. So anybody who is in Palm Springs wants to hang out, come and hang out. We'll have a good time.
Maybe even get interviewed.
Dan will be there.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Laura, Brandy, Daryl, Janice,
Don't
Craig,
forget Jackie.
Heidi,
Jackie. Yeah. I mean,
Jackie, Kathy,
Kathy.
Larry,
And
Craig.
guys, I just want to say, I mean, I'm no Dan Fishman, I'm no Dave Vellante, but I hang out here and I say what I want to say. And thank you all for accepting me as part of the group. You're all
Of
pretty
course.
cool.
Yeah. I might be up your way in a couple weeks, so I'll let you know.
I'm looking forward to that.
All
Tell
right.
me when.
2 weeks, the 21st, I think. The local stamp show there at the in Belfont.
Oh, let's get together, buddy.
Yeah.
To do a show from there.
There you go.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. We will be back next week with a topic to be determined. So thanks everybody, and we will see you then.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Mama, I've been good all week long, and I think it's about time for my reward. I don't